Hello everyone, this is Dr. Advocate Sheetal Babar, and in today's session I have come up with a sorted topic of principles of inheritance with respect to female sharer under Sunni law. Now, in my earlier session, I have discussed general principles of inheritance, which included Shia law as well as Sunni law. Now, we just thought of sorting out this topic under Sunni law and Shia law. And to start up with this topic under Sunni law, I sorted this topic only limited to female sharers or female heirs who receive the property as sharers or maybe residuaries. In our next slide, we shall be discussing about all of these. But right now, let me be very clear about Muslim law. Muslim law is non-discriminatory when it comes to females as sharers. The only thing is there are different principles to be applied at different or respective situations to pick up the category of females who shall be the legal heir of the propositus or the one who has died. So let us start with the next slide and the detailing of inheritance regarding female sharers under Sunni law. Now, as per the slide, we could see it talks about the classification of heirs under Sunni law. So there are basically three kinds of heirs under Muslim law in general also. So when it comes to three kinds, the first one is the sharer. Who are these sharers? These are the sharers we again further can classify as by blood or by affinity. So these are the individuals who come into life of the propositus as by blood relations or as per affinity. So say for example when it is wife or any of the spouses, we would say respectively. If it is a female, we talk about the husband. If it is male, we talk about the wife. So the spouse is the relation by affinity. Parents is the relation by blood. Brothers, sisters are the relations by blood. Who are the residuaries? So Muslim law and inheritance is quite interesting topic. It does not only talk about the sharers or these relations by blood or by affinity, but it also includes these sharers sometimes as residuaries. So the property as per priority goes to the sharer. Sharer are the one we call them as actually the nearest relations. So as per Quran, basically it is the spouse, parents and children who receive the property as the sharers. These are the most nearer relatives of the propositors. However, sometimes there are sisters and brothers who come into the scenario and take the property as residuary. So residuary from its very literal and apparent meaning, it is those who take the property which is the remainder. So the property firstly is devolved upon the sharers who are the priority members, and then whatever remains shall go to the residuaries, though in the respective situations which we shall be dealing up in our later slides. The last one is distant kindred. Distant kindred is the term which means if there is no closer or nearer relative who survives the propositus, then we say the distant kindred, the people who come from the common stock, or people, relatives who come from the common ancestors are the distant kindred. So the collateral relations, brothers, sisters, and the remoter relatives can be considered as distant kindred. So these basically are three categories of legal heir who receive the property in respective situations under Sunni law. if we compare this with Shia law, we don't talk about the distant kindred. We only talk about two classifications of legal heir. First is sharer and second is residuary. So basically we are only concerned to Sunni law and hence we shall not be more detailing about Shia law here. Let's jump on to our next slide. The next slide is actually the whole scenario as to who are the sharers. All the sharers under Sunni law of inheritance. So basically, if you just see the count of the sharers totally not discriminating on gender base, which basically is the sorted topic of today, all of them, including the male and female, the total count is 12, amongst which few are them who are the males and remaining are the females. So if you just see the color combination, all blues are the men, these are the male sharers, and the pink ones are the female sharers. So father, grandfather, husband, wife, mother, grandmother, daughter, son's daughter, uterine brother, uterine sister, full sister, consanguine sister are the 12 sharers, which actually does not come always in one circumstance. And how is that? Say for example, if you're considering husband as the sharer, simultaneously wife cannot come into the situation, because if husband is the sharer, we are calculating share of a female. So even if the count is 12, not all of these 12 in one situation receive the share. So here I have sorted out with a number of sharers gender wise. If we see the male, which is definitely not a part of our discussion, if we see the male sharers, we have only 4. While if you see the female sharers, we have double the number of male sharers. So 8 in number. Who are these female sharers, which basically shall be the discussion of our topic for today. So wife, mother, grandmother, daughter, son's daughter, uterine sister, full sister and consanguine sister are something which we basically talk about in our further slides. So let us go ahead with our further slide. Now here I have taken up share of wife. So wife is the foremost prioritized sharer amongst all of these 8 sharers, female 8 sharers. Now she receives the property, more property. If you just see the equilibrium, it goes down, that is share is more. So there is a situation of wife getting the share of her husband's property. There are two possibilities. One is 1/4 share, another is 1/8 share. In what circumstances we will be detailing this. However, let me first clarify, as Muslim law allows number of marriages, more than one marriage, if we're discussing share of wife as well as wives, this count is applied. If it is 1, it shall be applied to one wife, and the count will go same with many number of wives as category. So category is wife. We are considering here wife as category and not only singular form of wife. So she gets 1/4 share, or they get 1/4 share without children. Now children is children of the propositus. So all the relations henceforth we shall be considering them in relation to the one who is deceased, the property of whom is to be under devolution, or the property of whom is to be considered for application of principles of inheritance under Sunni law. So if there are no children of the deceased or propositus, his wife takes 1/4 share, or his wives take 1/4 share amongst them. However, if the propositus has left behind children or grandchildren, then share of the wife as a category is reduced. It is reduced half to what she would have received or they would have received without children. So with children or with grandchildren, her share or their share will be half the share, otherwise that is 1/8 share. And they shall receive this 1/8 share as category in case of more than one wife or more than one widow. Now we have a next individual. I here repeat this word individual because there cannot be two mothers. We here consider biological mother of the propositus. So see, even if the father has two wives and son is deceased and his property, son's property is to be considered for devolution or inheritance, the concern here is mother, and we don't categorize her as mothers, which we did for wife or wives. Here only mother, because we consider only one mother. Now let us see what the share she receives. She receives 1/3 share and half the share in another circumstance. So what are these two circumstances where we differ with this two shares? Now 1/3 share she receives in absence of certain category of individuals, or certain, I repeat this, certain categories of individuals. Now this is not a singular form. So child includes children also. So in absence of child, of whom? Child of the propositus, child of son of propositus, two full brothers of propositus, two full sisters of propositors, and one brother plus one sister or full consanguine or uterine. So this one brother plus one sister can be a combination of any of these. It can be one full brother with one consanguine sister, one full brother with one uterine sister, and so on. But all of these relations we are considering in relation to the propositus and not to the sharer. So when we are considering mother, in absence of these category of individuals, she receives 1/3 share. While in presence of all of these, the categories are same. There are 5 categories. If these are the people who are surviving the propositus, then the share of mother gets half of what she would have received in the absence of these people. So 1/3 share in absence of child of the propositus. That means actually her grandchild. Child of a son means her great grandchild. Full brothers means her children, her sons rather. Two full sisters means her daughters. And one brother plus one sister can be one son plus one daughter of hers, or daughter and sons of any another widow or wife of her husband, that means propositus father. In absence of these, she receives 1/3 share. In presence of any one of these or all of these, she receives 1/6 of the share. Let us move on to our next concept, that is share of true grandmother. Now I have sorted out this true grandmother in two categories. First is paternal grandmother and maternal grandmother. Now, what is this concept of true grandmother? Now, basically and simply, true grandmother is the one who is the nearest one. And the one who is nearest one is always excluded to the farthest. So, true grandmother is the real grandmother. If there is paternal grandmother, then maternal grandmother shall be excluded by paternal grandmother, because here she becomes the true grandmother. We know we concern to the literal meaning of true. True grandmothers, in literal meaning, paternal also and maternal also, both of them are true grandmothers. However, who is the nearer one? It is the one who is from paternal side and the one who is from maternal side. Shall we? This is the priority levels. So let us see how much share a true grandmother takes. True grandmother as a category takes 1/6 share. But then there are certain conditions. What are those conditions? For paternal grandmother, she is excluded by presence of father and mother. So if father or mother, also if father and mother are surviving, father of whom and mother of whom? Of the propositors. If these two or either of these is surviving, then she shall receive nothing, because she is excluded as a sharer by these two individuals. Let us go on to the next one. Maternal grandmother also receives the same share of paternal grandmother. However, she has been excluded. There is switching of these two individuals. She is excluded by mother of the propositors or father of the propositors and mother of the propositors and father of propositors. We just see the exclusion priorities. Father comes first here because we're talking about the paternal grandmother. Mother comes first here because we're talking about the maternal grandmother. So, in general, a grandmother receives the property 1/6 as a sharer only if parents of the propositors are absent. In their presence, she is absolutely excluded as a sharer. Now let us take daughter and son's daughter as one category, and then further classify this category into two different things as circumstances applicable to these two are different. Now, who is a daughter? Daughter of the propositors, as she is the sharer. And instead of daughter's daughter, the least of sharer includes son's daughter. Also, son is the one who is not amongst the sharer's list. However, son's daughter is enlisted in the sharer's list. So, daughter receives half the share if there is only one daughter to the propositors. If more than one daughters survive the propositors, then the share is 2/3, which shall be distributed among all the daughters. Here we consider daughter as a category. And if there is son of the propositors also who is surviving the propositors, then daughter does not take the share as sharer, but she receives the share along with the son as residuary. Similarly, son's daughter also receives half the share. Also, if there are more than one son's daughter, then 2/3 shall be distributed amongst all. However, son's daughter inherits property only if there is absence of two or more daughters of the propositors, son of the propositors, higher son's son, because if there is higher son's son, then residuary is a circumstance which is applicable here. Also, if there is a son, then it is the son who shall receive the property instead of son's daughter. And higher son's daughter. Now, what is this higher son's daughter? It doesn't mean the elder son's daughter. Here we are talking about the generations. So son's son, child of son is the word used under Muslim law. It usually does not talk about grandson, great grandson. The term used is child of son howsoever, and hence higher son's daughter means the son in the upper generation. There is one simple principle which is applied under Muslim law. That principle is quite simple, which states that always the nearer relation excludes the remoter one. So always higher son's daughter shall be the receiver of the property, excluding the lower son's daughter. What is higher son? The son from the earlier generation or closer generation to the propositors. And who is the lower son? Lower son is maybe a grandson, great grandson, howsoever, but remoter son of the propositors. Let us now talk about the share of full sister. Now, when it comes to full sister, it has three conditions very similar to daughter and son's daughter. The first one is if there is only one full sister, she will receive half the share. If there are more than one sisters, more than one, that is two or more, then altogetherly they should receive 2/3 of the share. While if there is brother, which is full brother, she receives the property as a residuary and she has been excluded from the sharer's list. However, there is one more condition for a full sister to receive this property as a sharer. She receives this property only in absence of four category of individuals. Maybe four of them male categories or sometimes a female inclusion. That means the very first talks about child. That means both of the genders. Secondly, it talks about child of son. So maybe both the genders, while father and father's father are male genders. So when we discuss full sister to take the property, either of this, maybe half the share of the property or 2/3 of the share of the property as sisters, there should be absence of child of the propositors, child of son of propositors, father of propositors, and father's father of propositors. So now let us talk about this slide wherein we discuss the share of consanguine sister. Now, who is the consanguine sister? Consanguine sister is the one who shares father but has different mothers. So, one parent is common between the propositors and this female. Father of these two, that is propositors and this female, is common while they have different mothers. So what in case of this consanguine sister? The similar thing applies here as well as compared to other females, especially sister, daughter and son's daughter. If there is one consanguine sister, she shall receive half the share. If more than one, she shall receive 2/3, which shall be distributed amongst all of them who are surviving. While if there is full sister, of the propositors from same father and same mother, the share of consanguine sister is 1/6. In case she is only one, it will be 1/6. Whether she is just not one and more than one, that is 2, 3, 4 and so on, they shall be considered as category and this 1/6 share shall be devolved upon them. However, there shall be some people who should be absent for this consanguine sister to come into the scenario as sharer. There are 5. First one is child of the propositors, child of son of propositors, father of propositors, father's father, that is true grandfather of propositors, and full brother of the propositors. Only in absence of these 3 will be the rules which shall be applicable. With full sister, or in absence of full sister, she will receive half the share. If there are more, 2/3 the share. With full sister, she will receive 1/6 the share. And if there is consanguine brother, the thumb rule applies and continues here as well. If there is consanguine brother, she will receive the property along with him as the residuary. Let's go on to the last one, last female sharer amongst the enlisted list. That is uterine sister. Who is this uterine sister? Uterine sister is the one who has common mother but different fathers. So the propositors and this female are born from same mother. However, father is not common. What shall be her share? If she is only one, she receives 1/6 share. If they are more than one, they receive 1/3 of the share. However, only in absence of these 4 categories, which are common to many of them. Child, child of a son, father of propositors, true grandfather of propositors. So if we conclude and we analyze all of these slides, what we could say is all of these females in one or the other ways do have a chance of becoming a residuary and do not miss a chance to receive the property. Maximum times they are enlisted as sharers. However, if there is a male and a counterpart of them, if there is a daughter, if you're considering daughter and presence of son of the propositors, this son will take the daughter as a residuary along with him. Similarly, it's a case with the sisters also, respective sisters. If there is full sister and presence of full brother, both of them go to the residuary category and receive the property. Similarly, the same rule applies to consanguine sister also. If there is consanguine sister and consanguine brother in the same surviving frame, then both of them receive the property as residuaries. However, if you're considering uterine sister, she only receives the property in these 3 conditions. And if these 3 conditions are not sufficed, then she is absolutely excluded as being the receiver of the property. So there is no chance of this sharer or the uterine sister as sharer to become residuary in case of non-sufficing or non-following these 3 criteria. So in absence of a child, in absence of uterine brother, there are no chances of she receiving property as a residuary. So this is all from my side about Sunni law and especially rules of Sunni law applied to inheritance of females. Thank you so much.